Hello, and welcome to another edition of One Bad Veggies Root Beer Review, where in this review, we hope Disney doesn't sue us. So in this review, as alluded to in the intro, it's actually only slightly Disney related. We're doing O-Zell Root Beer Float, which is a re-review. And apparently O-Zell was a bottling company that was owned by Elias Disney, who is the father of Walt and the Disney brothers, Roy, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so that's kind of like a big part of their mission statement, is that they're trying to the proceeds from their root beer are used to restore Walt Disney's home or something like that. So it's just kind of strange because O-Zell was the bottling company owned by Walt Disney's father, but as far as I can tell, other than the name, there's not really a whole lot to do with it. But it's just kind of neat, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, also, just as a side note, I guess it isn't a side note, it's more like the main point. It's a root beer float, which to me generally means that it's going to be extra vanilla. Now, I am the type of person who loves a good vanilla-based root beer. However, in my experience with root beer floats, where it's specifically like, hey, we added a bunch of vanilla to this to make this especially vanilla, usually comes out tasting like a car air freshener. So I always got to prejudge a little bit just based on the name. You got to judge a book by its cover. That's what they tell you in school all the time. Always judge a book by its cover. So let's go ahead and get into the ingredients. All right, let's go ahead and get into the ingredients, which should be appearing right there. Now, nothing out of spectacularly craziness. Although, here's the weird part to me, is that the whole point is that they're like, oh, we're trying to restore Walt Disney's original home or birthplace, right? We're trying to restore Walt Disney's birthplace. We're based out of California and Chicago. Hawaiian cane sugar blend. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the bottle here, which I believe at the bottom here, this here, it's supposed to be a cartoon version of Elias Disney, which I can't get it to focus real good for you there, but you get the idea. Which is interesting. He does look a lot like Walt. Originally, when I first started seeing all the Disney stuff on their main website, I did notice that, I was like, oh, is that supposed to be Walt? And it's like, no, it's probably Elias. It's probably his dad, because his dad was really the one who was kind of the important part of the bottling company that was O-Zell back in the day, which apparently failed because of bad politics, stuff like that. So a lot of their marketing also kind of revolves around like, oh, we're bringing Elias's dream to life and stuff like that. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird considering O-Zell was a bottling company, not a soda company. I'm sure maybe they did some sodas and stuff like that, but mostly like jellies and jams and stuff like that, from what I understand. Anyway, that has nothing to do with ingredients. I am just like super interested in the background of this company. Anyway, so yeah, otherwise, other than the Hawaiian blended cane sugar, which I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, that it's like Hawaiian cane sugar with corn syrup in it, or what, natural flavors, especially in something calling itself a root beer float. That could mean anything at all. So let's go ahead and open it up and get ourselves a little bit of the scent. All right, let's go ahead and crack this open. All right, let's get it. Okay, this is gonna sound super weird. I don't have a cold or anything. I feel perfectly fine. I'm not really smelling anything. Like I am. Okay, I'm smelling root beer. I am smelling, but it is so faint. It's very weird. Like usually you get a really strong whiff of whatever the root beer is gonna taste like. It's just like almost like a hint of root beer in here, and I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, there's nothing. It's not like it's so low in here that maybe I can't smell it. I'm gonna try one more time. I smell root beer. I mean, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. But otherwise it's not super fragrant. For something called a root beer float, I expected it to maybe. Well, like I said, I almost expect it to smell too vanilla. And it doesn't. It just smells like root beer, but faintly. So that's very interesting to me. So let's go ahead and get into the pour and the foam. All right. We got our trusty mug. Let's go ahead, open this up, check out the pour and the foam. Good foam, disappearing fast. Oh god. All right. Well, that was an interesting okay, this is super weird. So on the intake of the foam, tastes gross. It just tastes gross. It tastes like, sometimes foams taste a little musty is the best way I could put it. This one just had a just a nasty kind of bitter flavor. It wasn't even musty. It was just kind of like what's the word I was looking for? It's like old water or something like that, which I guess is also kind of musty, but it's not musty specifically. Anyway, but then once that kind of went away, it left a very pleasant, sweet flavor. I guess you could describe it as root beer, but it's like extra sweet. I don't know how else to put it. Maybe that's just a sign of what the actual flavor is going to be once I go ahead and taste it. So interesting. Also, you saw that foam was nice and tall when you poured it and then just right back down. So, you know, say what you say about that. Let's go ahead and get into the taste test. Here we go. Bottoms up. This one has a very unique flavor. Like I was saying, I was almost expecting it to taste, just because it's a float and because they can overdo it with vanilla a lot of times. I was expecting it to taste, like I said, like a car air freshener, like a vanilla air car freshener. It's not that strong. It is an interesting flavor. Like, okay, here's what I would say. I would say that the flavor is almost like an overly sweetened root beer, but you can tell the thing that's over sweetening it is the vanilla, right? So what ends up happening is you end up not with a root beer that tastes too vanilla, you end up with a root beer that has a very unique flavor. Now, on the back end, the aftertaste of the root beer is 100% vanilla. So it's almost kind of like if you were having a root beer float and, you know, you were drinking it and you drink it and you taste the root beer is sweetened by the vanilla, and then all you kind of taste after the end is vanilla ice cream. It actually, as far as trying to give you the idea that you're drinking a root beer float, it actually does a pretty good job of trying to simulate that specific thing, right? And the root beer itself is pretty creamy. So it's and the flavor's good, you know? I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. I'm saying it definitely is a twist on a root beer, right? Like if you're, you know what, let me go ahead and let's go ahead and get over to the actual letter grade and we can talk more about this. So what I was starting to say during the taste test was that as far as a root beer goes, like I really want a root beer. It's hard for me to recommend this one specifically because yes, it's a root beer, but if you're craving a root beer, you might want to go with something different. However, if you were craving a root beer float specifically, and you weren't near an ice cream place or something like that where you could get one, this would work okay. Like this is reasonable because it does simulate that flavor to a certain extent. You know, you don't actually get ice cream and stuff, but it does give you that kind of like root beer infused with vanilla ice cream and then just all kind of like that ice cream flavor at the end of it. It's real interesting in that way. I'm gonna go ahead and end up giving this one a C because it's, you know, it's good, but like as someone who's reviewing root beers and trying to decide what my favorite root beers are and stuff like that and trying to give you guys the best idea of what root beers taste like and what I think of them, it has to be a C because of its unique thing and the fact that it's not bad, right? And I always say, like, my grading scale is if you're a D or an F, there's probably something wrong. If you're a B or an A, you're probably doing something very right. But if you're a C, you're right in the middle. You're not bad in any sense of the word. You're not great in any sense of the word. You're right in the middle. And normally, because of its uniqueness, maybe I would normally put it up a couple letter grades higher. Maybe I'd put it at a B or an A or something like that. But because it's not necessarily something that's enhancing the root beer, it's more trying to shave out its own niche in root beer as something that's a root beer float flavored root beer, if that makes sense. I feel like I have to put it right in the middle there because it's not going above and beyond making a superior flavored root beer. It is trying to create a different sensation than just being a root beer. I know that sounds overly complicated. It makes sense in my head. Hopefully it makes sense to you too. So yeah, C. Normally I'm usually recording these at pretty close to the time where I have to put them out. Which is usually around noon on Fridays is when I try to get these out. Now I'm starting to bank them beforehand a little bit. So it's a little bit harder for me to tell you, hey, this is what's going on right now. So what I am going to say, and I'm probably going to have to start canning these because I'll just have to say the same thing every time because I can't tell you what happens in the future. But for now, just go ahead and like and subscribe and comment if you want to, or if you don't want to. Check out my Twitch channel. I swear I plan on recording more, he said for the 1000th time, and not doing it. I even missed my Halloween stream this year. I had been doing Halloween streams for the last couple of years, and I'm really disappointed that I didn't do one this year, but because I just wasn't feeling it. But I'm trying to get back to that place back there. You could see it's not like I'm not making models in the meantime. Yeah, keep your eyes out on the Twitch channel. Hopefully I can get back into that soon. And I guess that's it for now. If I think of anything else, maybe I'll write it down and start doing a canned outro like I just said. And I hope you had a good time.